Well, hey there, everybody. Let's get a head start on the weekend. It's early Friday morning, 1:16 a.m. on September 17th, 2021. It's going to be more than you ever wanted to know about week 2 of the NFL. Expect a really long video, people. All right, let's start out with this video is sort of brought to you by FanDuel. They're not paying me directly, actually. But I did open an account, a sportsbook account, and deposit for the first time in their sportsbook account today because DraftKings locked my account last week. Even though they reopened my account, I didn't want to deal with that ever again. So I'm joining FanDuel. So far, so good. They've got a lot of great bonuses. I actually lost the bet tonight on Thursday night because I did what I said I was going to do, and I took the under. I actually took an alternate under 28.5, and I got blown the F out. A lot of points in this game. I don't know what happened. I fell asleep. I was actually up at 2 a.m. in the morning. I was playing roller hockey outside for 3 hours today. It was a very busy day. I actually passed out in the first quarter when the Giants scored a touchdown and woke up to a bunch of losing bets. Anyway, here's the deal, though. The Washington Football Club somehow comes back. It looked like a really crazy game with a lot of weird stuff. Honestly, based on what I saw in that game, and some penalties at the end of the game especially, it certainly looked to me like a lot of people wanted Washington to win that game when it came to the officials. That's what that looks like, which I kind of want to brief. I wasn't planning on talking about that in this video, but when it comes to predictive modeling, I do feel like officiating is sketchy sometimes, and sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. So there's only so upset I get about things. Anyway, in this game, though, but Washington does come back and win. The Giants covered the spread, and the spread was up to 3.5. I actually bet the Giants plus 3.5. That's the only bet I did win other than the free money that FanDuel gave me for signing up. So points were a little higher. Now, the reason why I started saying this video is going to be extremely long is we need to break down everything going on when it comes to week 2. And the reason why week 2 is probably the most difficult week to predict of the entire season is because of this fact. ProFootballReference.com, where we gather the season standings and offensive, defensive ratings, strength of schedule, all that stuff. What is going on Pro Football Reference when you look at the standings is that nobody has offensive defensive rating or a standard rating yet, because with only one game as a point of reference you can't do the equations properly. I understand why they don't have an assessment on all those things, which means we're stuck with still last year 2020's thing, because we have to have this in order to do point projections. So because we're using last year's standing still, something like Washington's defense, which apparently is having a lot of issues. I saw it in person on Sunday, and I was not impressed. I was giving more credit to Herbert on the Chargers, figuring he's just a really good quarterback, and maybe the Redskins, the former Redskins, defense is actually okay, but it doesn't look good. So their defensive rating of 3.2 last year that you're looking at right there, that is, I don't think, that's not as good this year. So it's lower, and that would change point projections, and it might have given something with more points. So we got a lot of just analysis to do each game to look for consistent things and trends in the new year that we need to really pay attention to. You got a whole new team. So I have been watching a lot of games, and I certainly paid attention to week 1. So we'll be able to do that. Here, though, I mean, I don't know how to feel about this game. It's a Thursday night game. They're kind of a pain in the butt. Everybody, by the way, is going to get a look at the whole tamale for week 2, because I can't explain everything without explaining everything. So I have to show everything. And also, I had a guy get annoyed with me today because he didn't want to pay for the September subscription, and he paid for preseason. And I was just like, man, I gotta give this to people who pays. But here's the thing about guilting me into doing stuff. I also understand that I hate dealing with people that are annoyed. And everybody wants this information from me. And so I just kind of give it out so that way people stop annoying me. And So there's that. It does work. Unfortunately, being an annoyance works. It's one of the pitfalls of the internet. Anyway, well, everybody gets to see the pick, so here we go. All right, now what do we do? Well, I haven't updated an injury report. Things are going to change obviously before Sunday morning because this is only Friday. But this is a really up to the date now look at what's going on. Now keep in mind we've got this year's stats versus last year's stat predictions. We're going to look for consistency in both, and we're also going to look for trends of the new year. So let's start top down. Okay. Technically, we already got a win with Washington. We said they were going to win. They won. So that's one. Now, Tampa Bay over Atlanta, that seems like a no-brainer. Atlanta got blown out, right, by the Eagles in week one. I can see why Tampa Bay's minus 690. You can't mess with anything on the spread line here, in my opinion. Our point projections, our magnifier and our point projection. Somebody asked me about why the magnifier is now 7.5 as opposed to like 4, which it was throughout the preseason and for week one. This magnifier, of course, changes scores. You see what happens if we put it down at 4 is all of a sudden these scores are super low. And the reason why that is because we have such limited player stats. We only have one game of stats. And so people are like, well, Ken, what do you, how do you get that? You need more stats. You should look back in time and look at more stats. The answer is this is a predictive algorithm, but it's using the most relevant as well as the most bountiful stats. And you have to stop using last year at some point because it was last year and everything has changed. So you're always playing catch up in the current year because you just keep loading the new stats in each week, but there's no other way to get the stats other than have the stuff happen. So early on in the season, it is annoying like this, where we have to do a lot of manual adjustment and try to infer based on really limited information. But that's what we're going to do here, and that's okay. I mean, so we're working with limited information, so what? So Tampa Bay probably wins this game, but it looks unbettable. It's my opinion there. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to remove games from the list that we are not going to bet. So leave us with what our big round robin's going to be, and I'll make this round robin bet on FanDuel. So can't do anything with Tampa Bay, in my opinion. Seattle versus Tennessee. I liked Russell Wilson being Russell Wilson last week. Tennessee gets blown out by Arizona. They also didn't look great in the preseason. Speaking out both sides of my mouth, this is not a good line. It says that the Seahawks cover here, but Russell Wilson sometimes will eat clock and win by less than a touchdown. In my opinion, really tough game to bet. However, Seattle to win at 240 is an acceptable pick on a round robin. So we will leave that there. Denver over Jacksonville. Love Denver. I mean, they're playing great. Jacksonville gets blown out by somebody, Houston, last week. Here, high-scoring game where Denver covers the 6, but I can't deal with points like this. So I'll take Denver to win also on the round robin. Not good lines, but these are good picks, and you want winning picks on a big round robin. Arizona and Minnesota. Oh man, more than loving Denver is I love Arizona over Minnesota because Minnesota is playing like just one of the worst teams in the league, blowing at Cincinnati in overtime. Totally predictable last week. Here, another high-scoring game with Arizona winning. Totally believe that. Now here, I'm tempted to take Arizona minus 3.5 because they showed they can score last week. They got Kyler Murray. Minnesota's defense is bad. So in this case, I will take this. Take the minus 3.5 here to get the line instead of the minus 210 because Arizona is supposed to blow them out by at least 8 according to the algorithm, and it also has them putting up 32 points, which looks like the most of any team during the week. So we got 3 picks so far. Detroit and Green Bay. Now this is hilarious. So somebody pointed out that I had said in the video that Aaron Rodgers didn't have a Super Bowl, and that's why he wanted to get traded. And I was reevaluating that in my head even after I did the video. I was like, wait a minute, didn't he win a Super Bowl? I was like, I've seen him in some commercials, and I feel like he has won a Super Bowl. And I was like, when did Green Bay win the Super Bowl without Favre? What's wrong with my memory? And somebody pointed out, of course, that that Rodgers does have a Super Bowl. And you're right. So does that affect his desire to be traded? I don't know. But I know that the algorithm is picking Detroit to win this game 27-19. And I thought it was going to do this because, of course, Green Bay did nothing against New Orleans. So the play is is for fun to bet Detroit on the money line, but not in the round robin because that's too risky, and it's still Detroit. But you can absolutely take Detroit plus 11.5. How can you not? Why on earth would Green Bay pound them other than them being Detroit? There's no other reason, and Green Bay hasn't shown that at all this season in any fashion. And Rodgers is a question mark. He's won a Super Bowl, but that's it. So Detroit plus 11.5. That's a fourth pick. New Orleans and Carolina. That's a tough game. I think Carolina's playing pretty good, even though they had some trouble with the Jets, but not too much trouble. The Saints here, 24-16. I don't really like the line here, given that Carolina is at home also. That's the other problem. Carolina is at home in this game. I find this a tougher game, but the algorithm does like New Orleans because they pounded Green Bay, though. This is a tough game. So let's see, what would last year have said on this game? That's kind of one of those games I want to look up for last year. Last year says that it's all the way down here, and it's a 14-13 game last year because they have different QBs, though. See, we're working with really incomplete stats. So I'm going to stay away from this game simply because I don't know what to do, and I know that these teams... But here's a team that won in week 1 already and looked good in the preseason, so I'm going to stay away from that game. Rams in Indianapolis. Oh, yeah, Rams look like they want to play. I'm tempted to even take the minus 3.5, but because Russell Wilson just walked in and took care of Indianapolis. Indianapolis has Carson Wentz. I don't think he's worth anything. So here Matthew Stafford wants to put points up. I'm tempted, right? You got to either take minus 195 to win, which is a good round robin pick. I shouldn't say it isn't. What if they only win by a field goal for some reason? They did have trouble with Chicago a little bit. Because it's more than a field goal. If you could find it minus 3, I would take it. But let's just take the minus 195. So that's the other pick we'll take. Cincinnati and Chicago. It has Cincinnati winning this game. At plus 135. That's a fun one, but it's too risky to put on the round robin. But Cincinnati plus 3 is almost good enough, and they're on the road, so I'll stay away from this game. What did last year say about that? Last year said Chicago would win this game, so you got some conflict there. So we'll just let that sit and not do anything in that game. Then we have the Chargers in Dallas. Yeah, a lot of points. That makes sense. The line's not that great, although the Chargers are at home, whatever that means, in SoFi. Tough game to play, but look at the points in this game. So there's supposed to be an over here, and the over-under is set at 54.5, of course. And we have it at 59. Wow, that's a tough game to play. Dallas finds ways to lose. They really fought with Tampa Bay, and I do think they have explosive offenses. It's a tough game to bet. I'll have to think about that one. Raiders and Steelers. Likes the Raiders to beat the Steelers that pulled off that game against Buffalo, and the Raiders are plus 200, but they're on the road. That's trouble. What would last year have said in that game? Last year would have the Steelers way up there at 26-21. So another tough game here. Raiders plus 5.5 is interesting, given the point projections are saying that they clear that easily, but they're on the road. But that seems interesting because you're really going against the algorithm not to take that. That's an underdog with a lot of points. So I think we should add that. I hate going against the Steelers, but at the same time, them winning games by large margins I don't see happening all the time, and they're at home, but seeing 5.5 there, and the Raiders just coming off an interesting win and having some spark is a good pick there. Here it's the Chiefs and the Ravens. Sure, why wouldn't the Chiefs? Lamar coming off of a my fault game, fumbling a couple times. He's going to want to fight. This is going to be a great game, actually. I predict more points in a game like this, just because it just feels like action. But don't ever listen to me. I guess just the Chiefs at minus 195 is a really good pick. It has them at a minus 7.4% on the win score. That's from last year though. Tough, but the Chiefs in September away, however, in Baltimore, they're not at home, but they still are a really good team early in the year, and Baltimore's coming off a tough loss. Patriots and Jets, 17-15. 5.5 seems like way too much. The Jets can play better, and they're at home, if that means anything. I don't like the Patriots here at all, so I don't agree with the algorithm. But the algorithm says they pull off a win, because it is still the Jets, but the Jets can cover 5.5. So keep that in mind. Browns in Houston. High scoring game that the Browns can win. They're minus 575. So it says this is a joke right here. It says that Houston is better than they were last year, and not just because they played Jacksonville, but their stats are. I mean, they did play Jacksonville. And the Browns had that tough game in Kansas City and put a little more points. But this line is just way distorted. So Houston plus 12 is what you take here. 12 points? Why on earth? Because Cleveland's at home. Houston not... All right, last season, what would it have been? Last season, it would have been 25-21. Still nowhere near 12 points. That's craziness. I can't believe that. Almost looks wrong. But apparently it's not. So a lot of heavy money on Cleveland at home. Houston plus 12 is part of that round robin. Philadelphia and San Francisco. Likes Philly because of their strong week 1. You can get 3.5 with them. Wow. That looks kind of interesting. And then Buffalo at Miami, a tie game. That sounds like a tie game, doesn't it? So it says bet the tie, and you know what's funny about the tie thing is on week 1 we did have a tie. It was the 17-17 projection of Minnesota and Cincinnati, and this game was tied 24-24, so it did end in a tie, and it was the only game where it predicted a tie score. So when people say to me, "Oh, I built an algorithm. My algorithm did 9-6 and was fine," and I'm like, "Did you predict a tie in the only game that was a tie at the end of regulation?" Because the algorithm did. Yeah, fun stuff like that happens when you really start to dig into the numbers. So, all right. In summary, well, squeak out a win where the pick of the day lost on Thursday. We'll complain about that later. As for the big round robin bet, it is going to be not the Thursday game, but 1, 2, 3. These are all winners, or maybe Arizona with the spread. Green Bay plus 11.5. Stay away. Stay away from that. The Rams to win at minus 195. Can't take them more than a field goal here because Indianapolis is still okay team, but they are going to want to win this game. I think they will. Staying away from the Cincinnati. If you get the feeling you should play Cincinnati there. Scared. Given how bad Washington just kind of I felt like even though they won, they played bad against the Giants. The Giants look like they should have won, apparently, according to the highlights. Makes me doubt the Chargers more and think more that they're like the Chargers of last year. Well, yeah, what was last year's? Even though Dallas's defense was terrible last year and probably still is. Last year it would have had them winning 26-20. So I'm going to stay away from it because I'm scared of it. But that's a fun game to watch. The Raiders plus 5.5 is on there. The Chiefs to win is on there. I'm staying away from this game. Houston plus 12 is on there. And and I might throw the bet the tie on there. Simply because it pays amazing if it hits. But it's not a good round robin bet. If you do another smaller round robin with a bunch of fun odds, then you put the tie here, Okay, you put the bet to tie in this game. Then you also do this Detroit to win at plus 440 on there. You do Philadelphia to win at plus 165. You do the Raiders to win at plus 200, and you do Cincinnati to win at plus 135. So you throw those in at a much lower. You spend like if you pay a $50 round robin with those like 6 picks, right? What was it? It was all the dogs. Detroit. You can sort it this way. Or sort options, descending by money line. You can see all our underdogs. So you take all the underdogs right here, and you take what was the other thing we were going to do? The tie, right? We take the tie in the game where it predicts the tie. Buffalo and Miami. Buffalo in Miami. That could totally happen. Which also means that there'll be more points here if you get the tie situation and people duking it out, which is kind of a little bit of what I think happened in the game on Thursday night. So, all that being said, everybody apparently gets the picks in the video for free because I can't deal with all the complaining. I got other stuff to do. And for those of you that subscribe, you get the file, and you'll get the update on Sunday morning with the adjusted injury report and any other updates I do throughout the next couple days. If there is anything, but I will make this bet on FanDuel. I'll bet 100 and I'll bet like my normal $100 bet, right? And I'll show you what we do and what the payout is, and I'll actually break it up and do 2 different round robins, just like I mentioned, the underdog round robin as well as those like 7 picks I think I mentioned. All right, good luck everyone. May all your picks be winning, and you have a great weekend of enjoying some football. And oh yeah, I'll leave you on this one note. So tonight I made a pick of the day being an under. I said take an under. And then last week in the video, I said don't pay attention or put a lot of money on games when it comes to just betting the over-unders or points early in the season while we're doing this projections. So I said something and then turned around and gave you a pick of the week that was that. That's wrong. The pick of the week should always be a team winning in some form. Either a team with the spread line or a team winning. So don't let me get away with that over-under junk being a pick of the day, because that's not acceptable. Because there's too many things that can go into an over-under that you can't control. Now, you would have won with Washington on the money line. You would not won with them on the spread, and it was just a gimme. So, or it would have been like a sort of a push at what it said to do. But if you got 3.5, you take the Giants. It was basically a really difficult game to play on Thursday night. You do have a lot more obvious picks on something like Sunday, as you can see them popping up on here. Like I'm really enjoying these 3 up here because I know bad team, and we got Russell Wilson versus a team that is not playing well. I mean, I guess Derrick Henry can only carry them so long, right? And I also I like this, and it actually looks like a week that's set up to have a lot of wins. There's only a few questionable games in there. All right, guys, I gotta be done with this already. Good luck, man. All your picks be winning.